Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the Happy Camper Radio Show. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper, and a very good reason to be happy. This is, my friends, our 100th episode of the show. Can you believe that? It's been a long haul for us to get to this particular point in our venture, but, we've reached this milestone. I am very excited about being on the show and very happy, believe it or not, about being back in the studio. Last week was a bear. You would never think for a moment that with my reputation and everything that I have gotten going with this program, that I would have done a show from a hotel room. But I really didn't have a choice in the matter, because I was at Voices 2015 here in Atlanta. And last week I was gone from Thursday all the way through Sunday, and I knew somewhere in there I had to get the show done. But I attended that conference, and if you've been following us on social media, you will see that, yes, besides the Happy Camper Radio Show, I am a professional voice artist, and I do voice work. I will be introducing you to my other website probably in about a week or two from now, and I'll tell you where you can see what I do outside of the Happy Camper Radio Show. And anyway, after today's show, we'll be back with you again in 2 weeks, because the studio is getting a major renovation here. Because of the voice work that I am doing, we also have to add a sound booth inside the Happy Camper Radio studio. So it's going to take some time. It's going to take some wiring. It's going to take a whole lot of things. And the studio is going to be out of commission for a little bit. So next week, I will not be here, but the following week, we will be back with episode 101. The double digits are gone now. Thank heavens for that. This is the 100th episode of the show, and I'll tell you what we're going to be talking about here in just a moment or two. Hey, you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. And, of course, there's one convenient location you can go to see every one of our social media icons and click on them and choose whichever social media event you want to get involved in. It's www.happycamperradio.com. You'll find them all right there in the right-hand corner in the sidebar. Let's go right now to the shout-out window, because we have some individuals who logged on this past couple weeks and connected with us on social media. First of all, we want to say hello to Jay and Jazz of Devons, Massachusetts, Mass Rana, both of them like us on Facebook, to Clem's RV in Ellenwood, Pennsylvania, Craig Bond, Kim Hall, Bob Diffley, to Dennis All of Nebraska, and to Allison Kehoe of Poquoson, Virginia. They're following us on Twitter. And finally, we want to say hello to Oscar Bourbonneau, who subscribed to us on YouTube. Thank you all so very much, each and every one of you, and being a part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. Hey, would you like to be a guest on our program? We'll make that very easy for you to do. Just log on to our website and hit the Contact Us button, and that's send me an email. All right? Very simple to do. And we'll get you connected up, get you on the program. The easiest thing you can do, however, is to sign up for a Google Plus account. Very easy to do. It's free of charge. And make sure that when you do that, you add Happy Camper Radio to your circles, because occasionally we'll be putting out an alert for anybody who wants to join us on Hangouts. And that's the easiest way to connect up with us here on Happy Camper Radio, and we can have a group session. We can have a bunch of folks get on the program who want to talk about camping. Anyway, for our 100th episode, I have something very special. We today are going to be talking about, and I think this is a really important topic. I think it's an appropriate topic for our 100th episode. It's camping with friends, family, and relatives. Now, why do you think we would wait to the 100th episode for that? Because, first of all, the Happy Camper Radio Show is a family-oriented radio program. and it comes to you here every week, and we have been having great times talking about family, and I also thought it would be an appropriate time for us to bring family and friends on board. And I reached out this past week to a couple of individuals who managed to connect with us. I don't know where the third one's run off to, but we have on the show here today my brother Rick from Allison Park, Pennsylvania, and also to a guy I haven't seen in a long time, but I see him right now here on my monitor, Grizzly Greg, as he is better well known. Let's welcome both of you guys to the show. Rick and Greg, how are you? Okay.
Hey, Skip, congratulations on the 100th episode.
Well, hey, thank you, Rick, and I'm glad to have you and Greg here on the program today. Now, Rick, you and I have gone back many, many years as far as the camping world goes. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how much you can remember from the younger years, I mean the real younger years, but I think our very first camping trip that we went on, as a young family, you may not remember this, but we went to a place that you're very familiar with today, and that is Cook Forest, Pennsylvania.
I remember Cook Forest very well.
All right. Now, we've camped up there on a couple different occasions, and one of the things I like about Cook Forest is the fact that it's very green. There's a lot of, and I think the forest was named appropriately, whoever came up with it, because there is a lot of foliage up there. There's a lot of pine trees. It's kind of dark, almost reminds you of a rainforest in some respects. And I'm saying this from being in some of the deepest parts of the forest. And I can remember seeing the wildlife up there. It's a great camping destination, probably still is today, even though I hadn't been there in quite a few years.
Yeah, it's a very large state forest, and then what makes it even bigger is because it's adjacent, right next to the Allegheny National Forest.
Now, the last time,
right over that.
The last time the three of us got together, I think we're going to go back maybe 30 years now. And it's been almost that long, where we went canoeing down the Clarion River.
Yeah.
All right. And Greg, you remember that very well, I'm sure.
Right, yeah.
But we were staying in some cabins up there that our dad had rented and with some of his friends. And, of course, after he passed, we rented that cabin on a couple different occasions. Now, even though we talk about tent camping all the time, those cabins up there offered us a lot of great memories and a lot of great comfort, too. If you're going to rent a cabin, those were the old-fashioned kind. It's not like the modern-day ones that you see being built, but this one was a cabin.
Yeah, there's some actual old log cabins up there, too.
Exactly, yeah. So it was a lot of fun back in those days, too. But I can think of a lot of great times that we've had over the years camping, and you think about what we're talking about today, what some people outside of the show end up doing when they get around a campfire, or maybe not even a campfire. They might be sitting around the comfort of their own living room, and the topic of camping will come up, and immediately some of the good memories start kicking in.
Yeah, and maybe some not so good memories. I don't know if you probably don't want to choose to remember this one. The canoe trip down the Clarion in Cook's Forest.
Oh, I guess you want to share that with the world, don't you?
Oh, yeah, that was with you and our other brother Dan and Greg and myself.
All right.
And your canoeing skills weren't all the best.
Mine weren't.
No, you and Dan. In fact, one point going over Cedar Rapids, you and Dan wiped out, and I believe you lost a lantern in the river that day.
I lost that good Coleman lantern. If I ever get back up there, I'm going to try fishing it out of the river. I don't know if it's any good in shape now. I do remember that. And it makes a whole lot of sense, too, when you're going on a canoe trip as to why they tell you to put everything in plastic bags.
Yes.
Because, you may not be able to hold on to them. They'll go downstream. You'll find them somewhere, but everything will be inside it, and all your belongings will still be there. Now, as far as that canoe trip went, yeah, granted, I was trying to get Dan to do all the work because I was tired, and he wasn't giving in, and it's double duty when you're inside one of those canoes. One guy can't do it on his own.
We've all had to canoe with Dan at one time or another.
Well, I only did it once, and I don't think there's going to be a second time. Dan is our Rick and I's younger brother, incidentally, folks. Since we're here talking about family and talking about camping trips.
During that time,
what's that, Greg?
who was in the back of the canoe steering?
That was me.
Okay,
I was in the back of that. See, that's
we got to blame that on you then, that wreck, huh?
Yeah.
But that
Dan
was
doesn't like getting his paddle wet.
Yeah, that was a good venture, and I can remember we had stopped along the way and we camped out overnight, and that was I believe we had a small tent set up, didn't we?
Yeah.
And somehow the four of us managed to get in there like sardines in a can, and we were able to kick back. I think we ate our food out of a can that night. It wasn't your typical family campground that we were at. So, we were kind of in
definitely wilderness camping.
We're wilderness camping, semi-survival mode. But it was a lot of fun. And those are the really, really good memories that I like to, talk about every now and then. As far as camping in our younger years, I want to go back even further.
All right.
We were camping regularly almost every year for maybe, I want to say 5 or 6 years with our grandparents.
Oh, yeah.
We, and Rick can attest to this, if there were two grandparents that were the most awesome grandparents on this earth, we had them. And every kid in this world deserves to have grandparents like Rick and I had. And they would take
grandparents.
Yeah, they were both good grandparents. The only difference is the one set of grandparents that took us camping took all 5 of us at one time.
Oh, yeah.
Our other grandmother, she couldn't handle more than 2 at a time. It was just too much for her.
But the boys 1 week and the girls the other.
But we used to go camping every year, and we didn't own a trailer, but we rented, or should I say our grandmother rented a Scotty trailer. For those of you who are as old as Rick and I are, you could probably remember what the Scotty trailers were back in the day. They were very small. They were maybe a little bit bigger than the teardrop campers that we're talking about. So use that to kind of envision the type of trailer a Scotty trailer is.
Teardrop on steroids.
There you go. And it just pumped it up a little bit. But could you imagine? Think about this, folks. We have got 5 grandchildren, a grandmother, and a grandfather who has a heart about as big as the size of his body, and all 7 of us squeezing into that little trailer at the end of each night. And we would rent that trailer for about a week. It wasn't just a weekend trip, we had it hooked up on the back of the trailer, and every year we went somewhere different. But how on earth we ever got inside that trailer and managed to sleep and we managed. We did, and it was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
The trailer seemed a lot bigger than it was. Mm-hmm. Growing up years later, I remember driving by and looking at them and going, I have no idea how we all fit in that thing.
But somehow we did.
I think some of the upper cabinets folded down, and there were like bunk beds.
Yeah, they were. And for some reason, they put them up every single day. Our grandmother went in there, decided she was going to do some house cleaning, and the bunks were put up. So if you wanted to take a nap, you were either had to go to the back seat of the car or you were out of luck. So that was it was a real exciting event every time we went somewhere. I believe one of the first camping trips that we took, Rick, in that little trailer was to Lake Pymatuming.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we had gone up there a couple times. That is a campground that is not very far away from some other friends we've had on the show from the Meadville KOA. We've talked about Lake Pymatuming when we had them on. But if you remember correctly, that lake up there is not only very beautiful, it is completely stocked with carp. And they say you could walk on the carp's back if you actually fell in the lake.
Yeah, right at the spillway, that's where everybody throws these loaves of bread in, and the fish just swarm it so much that they push each other up out of the water.
They should post a bread factory right next to that lake.
Yeah.
because they would have no problem feeding them fish. But we had some great times up there on Lake Pymatuming as well. And
I don't know if you remember this one, Skip. It was another lake we went camping at, and it was a private lake, and we were swimming there. They had a little fishing and swimming area.
I know it very well.
Trout came swimming by, and I got to give you credit on this one. I mean, you stood there and you watched this trout, and you reached in and you grabbed it with your bare hands.
I couldn't do that again.
No.
I remember that very instinctively because I tried turning the fish loose. I felt bad for him afterwards, and he wasn't up to swimming. So, we had fish for dinner that night.
Yeah.
The campground you're talking about, and I was just thinking about it last week, was Prince Gallitzin State Park.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. That's where we went.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, and it was beautiful there, too. Just about every campground that we went to with our grandparents and that little Scotty trailer, we had a blast. It was so much fun, and I think we were all just a little bit embarrassed in such a way, more the grandparents than us, because fellow campers who were around us coming in with these big Airstream trailers, and I don't remember seeing any motorhomes, but, I saw some trailers that were a lot bigger than the one we were renting, and folks looking over there and saying, where is everybody sleeping? How on earth are you all getting in there? But we managed. And then the campfires were the absolute best, of course.
Oh, yeah.
You cannot go camping and not have a campfire. It just doesn't work. I mean, you can do it, but you're not going to have the fun, and you're not going to have the place to sit down and laugh and build up some good memories.
And when you have a grandmother who's a bit of a pyromaniac, we had some nice fires.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if she wasn't building them at home in the fireplace, she could really build them there at the campground.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I just trying to figure out where she came up with all the firewood. I don't remember us being ordered to go out and pick up some logs. All right, but
I don't know. She got them from somewhere.
Yeah, but we had a great time. Roasting the marshmallows and hot dogs was also great fun too. It was just all the way around a wonderful, wonderful atmosphere. And these are great memories that we can sit back and talk about for many, many years to come. As we got older and we all had our own things to do, it's amazing how quick life moves forward, because here we are with how many nieces and nephews? You're looking at a total of 9. And now we got great nieces and great nephews, don't we?
Well, just 3 great nephews.
3 great nephews
no
now.
Yet.
All right, and it's you just blink your eye and say, where did time go?
Yeah.
So, and we're getting older, and I can even remember, and it's been a while since we've done this too. I talk on the show all the time about camping in the North Georgia mountains. The campground that I go to, I don't want to call it a campground because it's kind of a hideaway. Let's call it a campsite. Mm-hmm. But we have been there. You have been there with me. Jim has been there. Greg, you've got to come down and see this place. But we also went up there every single year for maybe, 10 years with the kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we went up there for a whole weekend and had a blast. Had that whole section of the Chattahoochee National Forest all to ourselves. And it was a great little family reunion for the kids.
And I'm sure some of the best memories those kids have.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I still got some pictures. I'm going to have to dig them up and put them on the website. There were some that I'm still looking for from way back in the day. I don't recall having any with the Scotty trailer, but I'm sure they're out there. And that would be a fun thing to post online and be able to talk about. And if I ever do come across them, or maybe if you could talk to your sisters and see if they can dig them up, pass them on to me. We'll definitely get them out there for the entire world to see. So
see if we can find those.
Well, Greg, I know you've got a reputation, and I don't know where Grizzly Greg came from, but you definitely live up to it. So you've been an outdoorsman as long as Rick and I have. Okay, and how many camping trips and out of town trips have you taken with Rick?
Quite a few. Me and Rick, I've been on so many trips that they just kind of all blend into one trip, But early on, I would go a lot with my father and with our cousin Dawn.
Yeah.
And then Rick, he's a couple years younger than us, so he came a few years later along. And I remember back in the day, I did all the cooking until Rick started coming along with us, and he didn't really like my cooking much. So I've been mentoring him now with the cooking now for about 30 years or so. And why was that? You didn't like my cooking much?
Well, Greg has this thing that when it gets really black, I call it burned. He calls it Cajun. A little definition in terms there, but
so he didn't like my Cajun cooking, so he took over that job, which is fine by me.
Well, the only cooking that I'm familiar with that Rick does is when he brings that big kettle out there and deep fries a turkey. He can,
yeah.
I got to give him credit, Greg. Now he can do that up right. You know, he can marinate that turkey, and it's cooked to perfection. Anything else around the campfire, I've got to say I've done pretty well on the camp stoves and run the show, and because I bring all the gear, and have done that for many, many years when we were camping up in the mountains. That's one of the things that the kids can always count on was their Uncle Skip having everything there. He did the grocery shopping. He had the gear. Getting them to clean up a little bit afterwards was a problem. You know, it was always hard to get somebody to run down to the creek and gather some water to bring up and help do dishes. They just were not in the mood for that. It was too much of a vacation for them. But those are great memories, you know, that we can sit back and laugh about and joke about for many, many years to come. Our grandmother, you know, even though we loved her to death, and you know, our grandparents, let's talk about our grandfather here for a moment. He had one particular saying that that she loves him so much that she'll give away everything she owns, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he couldn't find half the stuff. So, yeah, you know, her grandmother did have a big heart of gold, but she did some real crazy things. You know, some of the things, you know, she threw on the fire that just made the fire erupt, and you had to tell her, you can't do that. For some reason, you know, she managed, she did fine, and we all had a blast the whole time we were there. So, you know, these are great memories, and, you know, and I wanted to bring you guys on the show for the 100th episode, so we could sit here and talk about some of those good things, some good times that we had. And, you know, and they'll always be embedded in our memories for as long as we live. And I'm sure this is something that our younger kids in the family will be able to do the same. Now, we have down here our brother-in-law, Jim, and he was supposed to be on the show today, but for some reason couldn't make it. And his daughter, Erica, also lives very close by. They're talking about putting together a trip real soon. And I had a talk with Erica on the phone not long ago, and she goes, Uncle Skip, she goes, yes, I want to go camping. I want to take my son camping for the very first time. But definitely you got to be there because I like your stories. So I like to have the reputation that both of our grandparents had because they could tell some awesome stories. And no matter how many times they told them, if they ask you, hey, did I tell you the one about this? You always said no because you just had to hear it again.
You didn't mind listening to it over and over.
No. Mm-hmm. So our other grandfather, he was the king of stories. He had stories lined up, and I think I heard each one 100+ times. But no, I never heard him. Never heard you say that. Tell me that story before. So
now you sit back and you just wish you could hear him again.
Yeah. So what's up? What's in store for your next camping trip? I know you've got something planned.
Matter of fact, we do. We have on, April 18th, a buddy of mine, it's opening day of trout season up here on April 18th, and gets a bunch of guys together, and they go supposedly trout fishing. I think that's what they tell their wives.
You're not going down the Clarion River, are you?
No. This is actually further south of Pittsburgh, down towards the West Virginia border, Delaware, West Virginia border. An area that they go, and actually it's right along a railroad track, so they get a bunch of guys and they set up their camp there. And they may do a little bit fishing, but actually it's just a nice weekend where they kind of hang out, sit around the campfire, eat a lot. Greg and I, we're going to go take our quads with us, and there's some trails we can go quad riding through the forest there. It's just a nice, relaxing getaway weekend.
I do recall somebody several years ago, and I don't even remember who it is because it's been this long now. But somebody that I knew back in the day told his wife that he was going trout fishing with his buddies, and they were going to be gone the whole weekend. And she had no problem with it. All right? He had all his camping gear and everything packed up, and threw it all in the car, and he was gone. When he came back, she asked him, how was fishing? And he bragged about all the great fish that he caught. And then she quickly reminded him that he left his fishing poles there at the house. So listen, if you're going to tell your better half that you're going camping and you're going fishing and you've got other plans, make certain that you put all your gear in your vehicle before you go, or you're going to have a lot of explaining to do, just like he did.
Well, they had me take my camera, and I get some pictures of them, mostly stage pictures, standing there with their fishing rods and all that, but shortly after that, it's back to the camp.
Yeah, totally understandable. Well, Rick and Greg, hey, listen, I really appreciate you guys coming on the show today for the 100th episode. I couldn't think of a better show to bring you guys on because, for the most part, we've been chatting here for about the past 20 minutes and talking about family, talking about being with friends, and that's what it's all about in the world of camping. And you can't have it any better than that. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And this week, we're going to take you out to the state of Kansas, and we're going to visit a campground that is just about ready to open up. In fact, it will be opening day on April 1st, 2015. It's a beautiful campground. It's the Cottonwood Point in the state of Kansas. It's going to be on our website all week long, so make sure you go ahead and check it out. The Cottonwood Point is a very spacious and shady campground located on the shores of the Marion Reservoir. The reservoir itself was completed in 1968 and encompasses 6,200 acres of water surrounded by 6,000 acres of public land. A lot of popular activities out there include camping, boating, fishing, hunting, and you just can't beat it. They got some great pictures on their website, and you can go ahead and check them out. A lot of great amenities for you to enjoy, like we say, boating, beach access, drinking water. It's the weather's starting to get a little bit nicer, so I'm sure the swimming areas will probably be open very, very soon. They have interpretive chairs, picnic shelters, playground for the kids. That is so important. Vault toilets, and a whole lot of other things. Here's some things to know before you go. 3 tents or 2 tents and 1 RV is permitted per campsite. Off-road vehicles are not permitted. If you're going to purchase your firewood, make sure you do that locally. Don'tMoveFirewood.org. Read all about it on our website at happycamperradio.com. Looking for a great place to go camping this coming spring? We got it here for you. It's our featured campground of the week. It's Cottonwood Point in the state of Kansas. Go out there and see them, and make sure you tell them you heard it on Happy Camper Radio. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, by all means, get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. And don't forget, we'll be back with you again in 2 weeks. So don't miss our next episode, which is going to be episode 101. Rick and Greg, thank you all so much again for being on the program. Really enjoyed having you here. And I hope we can get the opportunity to do that again and sit down and chat sometime not too far down the road. Always a great pleasure having you guys on the show. Greg, you're looking good. Hey, you got a haircut this time, so you're getting a little bit better. But I tell you, with the beard and everything, you're holding up to your reputation as Grizzly Greg. Hope we get an opportunity to go camping and maybe do some canoeing again somewhere down the road. I'll probably be a little bit more cooperative when it comes to paddling down the river, or at least guiding, so my little brother don't have to do it. So anyway, hey, we'll catch you in a couple of weeks. Don't forget to catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Tucker, and add us to circles on Google+. Happy Camper Radio is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. Talk to you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye, everybody.